Hey there. This is the first video in a series that's going to go through at least some of the chapters in the sermon or the speech called Second Clement in the collection of writings called the Apostolic Fathers. This is a great book to start with if you have just gotten through beginning Greek and you want to try some Greek outside of the New Testament. This is a good starter book. It's, as far as live, real Greek is concerned, it's pretty easy. So this is a good place to start. If you're going to read Second Clement, I would recommend that you get this book that you see right here, the Greek Reader's Apostolic Fathers. I'd recommend this if you're going to read anything in the Apostolic Fathers. It's a very useful book. I'm not going to explain all the vocabulary as we're going through the text, though a lot of it will come up. I'm going to depend on you either looking up the words or using this book to help you get through the basics of the text. And before you listen and watch this video, you really should try to read it a few times, at least the first chapter, before you take a look at this video. So view the text, read the text, think about it, and then come to this if you need some help. The actual text we'll be using is taken from the Open Apostolic Fathers, edited by James Taubert and Seamus MacDonald. It's right here up on the web if you want to come look at any other pieces of the text. This is based off of Kearsarge Lake's text. And so what we're going to do is we're going to walk through it and we're going to discuss it. And I'm going to point out some things that I think are difficult or things that should be shown to somebody who's fairly new at Greek. If you're advanced in your Greek knowledge and you haven't ever read this book, you will find it very easy, and you will find much of what's in this video today rather simple and easy as well. So let's get started. I will begin by doing some reading of this first part of the chapter. Adophiou, houtos di hemas phranin, peri Iesu Christou, hos peri theou, hos peri kretou zonton ke nekron. All right, that's our first sentence. Now this is a historical koine, or like a historical koine pronunciation if you were used to, for example, Erasmian. It's not going to sound like that, or even modern pronunciation. It's not going to sound like that either. This is something you can look up at going to koinegreek.com and see some explanations there and get some more examples, some better examples, frankly, than what I can offer for you. But that's the pronunciation I'm going to be using as I go through this. So, adophiou, houtos di hemas phranin, peri Iesu Christou, hos peri theou, hos peri kretou zonton ke nekron. Brothers. That's how the speech begins. It's how the sermon begins. It's talking to these Christian brothers. And the first thing to notice is this houtos di, right here. Houtos di. It is in this way necessary, or it is necessary in this way for us, hemas phranin, us to think, peri Iesu Christou. We ought to think, it is necessary for us to think about Jesus Christ, hos peri theou, as about God. Hos peri kretou zonton ke nekron, as concerning the judge of the living and the dead. Nekron is just nekros, the adjective that you probably know. And zonton is zao. That is a participle form of the verb zao. So, hos peri kretou zonton ke nekron, as concerning the judge of the living and the dead. Ke ou di hemas mikra phranin, peri tes soterias hemon. Once again, we have this di hemas, the same thing as we had before. Let's go with some green. We have this di hemas, di hemas. First, we're supposed to think about Jesus Christ as we think about God. In the same way, as concerning the judge of the living and the dead. In this case, we ought not to think something. In this particular case, ou di hemas mikra phranin. We ought not to think small things. Peri tes soterias hemon. We ought not to think small things about tes soterias hemon, our salvation. Verse 2. Into garfranin hemas, mikra peri aftu, mikra ke elpidzamin labin. Into garfranin hemas, once again, we have another infinitive. Just like before, we had this phranin, which is infinitive form. We now have phranin, which is infinitive form on the third line. And then on the fourth line, here in verse 2, once again, phranin. Into garfranin hemas, mikra peri avtu, mikra ke elpidzamin labin. Often you will see infinitives that are governed by, that are introduced by adjectives. Prepositions, not adjectives, prepositions. In, right here. In, to, gar, phranin. When we think is the idea here. When we think, mikra peri avtu, when we think little about him, mikra ke elpidzamin labin. We hope, elpidzamin, we hope also, mikra, we hope to receive little. So if we think little of Jesus, then we think that we will receive little from him, or we hope that we will receive little from him. If he's little, if he is weak, then we should only hope to receive little. But the exhortation is not to think little, but to think big. Think about Jesus Christ as we would think about God. Now, this next part of the verse is definitely more difficult. And actually, one thing that makes it a lot more difficult is the punctuation that was given. So if we take our red here and we X out that comma right there and put it here, it's actually going to make a little bit more sense. All right, let me read and we'll work through it. Ke hu akuantes hos peri mikron hamortanusen ke hemis hamortanomen uk idates pathen eklethemen ke hupatinas ke is han tapan ke hasa hupeminen Jesus Christos pathin hineka hemon. So what's the big deal about that comma? Well, let's think through it. The thing I found most confusing about this verse at first was, if you're coming off of the first part of verse 1 and verse 2, I'm looking at this and going, now we're talking about the hearers, right? And hu akuantes. Hu akuantes, this is an article with this nominative plural participle form of akuo. This would be those who are hearing, or those who are listening, or those who listen. And those who listen, hos peri mikron, as about little things. What does this mean? Hamartanosen. So, hu akuantes hos peri mikron hamartanosen. The best way to think about it is, first, let's think about those who are listening hos peri mikron, not about little things, but are keeping with the theme and thinking, those who are listening and thinking little, specifically little about Jesus. Ke hu akuantes hos peri mikron hamartanusen. So those who think little about Jesus and think about these things aren't very important, they sin, hamartanusen. So ke hu akuantes hamartanusen, right? Those who are listening, thinking little things, are sinning. Ke hemis hamartanomen, and we are sinning. We are sinning when? And that's when, and this is why you need this comma right here. If you look in Lightfoot's text of the Apostolic Fathers, this is where he puts the comma. Kirchhoff Lake puts it where we've got it actually in our text here, and I think that's more confusing. If you put the comma here, what happens next is what's coming up is now describing. It's now describing essentially the part of the mental problem of hu akuantes hos perimikron hamartanusun ke hemis hamartanomen. And now it explains. Uk idates pathen eklethemen ke hupatinas ke is hantapan ke hasa hupeminen Jesus Christas pathin heneke hemon. Uk idates, going back, not knowing. This is oida. This is a participle form of oida. Not knowing. Pathen. From where, eklethemen, we have been called. Ke hupatinas, and by whom. Ke is hantapan, and unto what place, or into which place. Ke hasa hupeminen Jesus Christos pathin heneka hemon. And how great of things, hasas, how great of things he endured, who endured? Jesus Christ, to suffer heneka hemon, on behalf of us. So the logic of the sentence is, or the logic of all of this so far is, you need to think about Jesus as you think about God. If you think little about Jesus, then you're going to hope and think little of him and hope to receive little. And those who think this way, as about little things, and about little about Jesus, they sin, and we sin. And logically, we can think of it as an if here. All right? What's the problem? We do not know or do not remember from where we are called. That's a problem. And by whom? That's a problem. And unto what place? Well, not remembering, that's a problem. And how great a things that Jesus Christ endured and suffered on our behalf. So that's the logic so far. And pathin here is pasco. This is an infinitive form of pasco, which just means to suffer or experience. Now, verse 3. A series of questions. Tina un hemis avto dosamen antimistheon, e tina carpon axion, hu hemin avtas eduken, passade avto aphilamen hasia. Tina, what? Asking a question here. All right. Therefore, what? Dosamen. First person, plural, future. What will we, here's your subject right here, hemis. What shall we give to him? All right. Or really, what, let's link tina and antimistheon. What thing given in exchange? All right. Think of it like a transfer, or like what he has given so much. What are we going to give into exchange? That's the idea here. Tina antimistheon, hemis avtodosamen, a tina carpon, what fruit? Tina carpon axion, what worthy fruit? Hu hemin avtas eduken, what fruit worthy of what he himself has given to us? So what fruit worthy, which he himself, or worthy of that which he himself has given to us? Pasa de avto aphilamen, pasas, how great, how much, pasas hasia, how many or how great a holy thing do we, aphilamen, owe? What great holy thing do we owe him? Verse 4. Tafoskar hemin ekarisata. Hos pater huius hemas prasegorepsin apalumenus hemas esosin. Tafoskar hemin ekarisata. For he graced or gave to us the light, I guess I should say the light gave to us, taphos ekarisata hemin, gave to us, as hos pater huios hemas prosegoripsen, as a father calls his sons, apalumenus hemas esusen. Now this one's fun and cool. He saved us, right there is the verb, der esusen. He saved us, but this right here is describing us. This is an accusative participle. We can see this with the us. So therefore, it's actually talking about this hemas. He saved us. He saved us what? While we were being destroyed. While we were perishing is the idea there. Verse 5, another question. Pion un enon avtodosemen, emistan antimistias hon elabomen. Pion un enon avtodosemen. Punon enon. Therefore, pion enon, what praise shall we give dosemen? Will we give to him? Mistan antimistias, or what wage, what are we going to pay back? Antimistias, what are we going to pay back from which we have received? Verse 6. Peu antes te dienua, proscununtes lithus, ke xula, ke crusan, ke argaran, ke kakan, erga anthropon. Back to the beginning of 6. Peu antes te dienua. Peru, the idea here is something like broken or hurt, weakened. In this case, peu te dienua. Not talking about us physically, but peu te dienua. Broken in mind, weakened in mind, or being antes, right here. This is a nominative plural form of imi, the state of being verb here in a participle form. Being peu te dienua. Being weakened in mind. Proscununtes, once again, talking about people here. Right? Weakened in mind. Proscununtes lithus, ke xula, ke crusan, ke argaran, ke kalkan. This is talking about idolatry. Worshipping things made of stone and wood and gold and silver and bronze. Erga anthropon. Right? What's the problem with those things? They are erga anthropon. They are the works of men, not God, the judge of the living and the dead. They are the erga anthropon. Que habias hemon halas, ala uden, en emi thanatas. And the whole life, our whole life, nothing other was except death. Our whole life was nothing else other than death. Amavrosen un perikimenu, que tu avtes acluas gemontes in te orasi, anablepsamen, apatemenu ekina, ha perikimeta nefas, te avtu delesi. Amavrosen. Amavrosen is darkness. Un perikimenu. Being cloaked in, perikimenu. This here is another nominative plural participle. Lots of these here from perikimai. Being surrounded by or cloaked in. Perikimenu amavrosen. Surrounded by darkness. And gemontas. Gemontas. Gemo is to be full. Gemontes. Here's participle. Here's another participle. Being full of such great akluos. Such great foggy mist is the idea here. You can't see, right? Before it was darkness in the previous clause. Now it's our tu avtes akluas enteorasi, in our vision. Aneblepsamen apitheminu ekina ha perikimetha nefas te avtutelesi. Anablepsamen. Now we switch to a finite verb. Anablepsamen. Right? We looked up. This is aorist. You can see that from the augment here and the sigma that's in this C right there. Anablepsamen. We looked up. Apatheminu. Throwing away. Ekina ha perikimetha nefas. Ekina, neuter. Nefas, neuter. Apatheminu. Ekina nefas. Pushing away or putting away that cloud which perikimetha, with which we were surrounded. All right? Te avtutelesi. By his will. Eleisen garhemas ke splanknestis esusen. De asamanas in hemin palen planen ke apolion ke me de mian elpida ekontes soterias I me ten paraftu. 4. Eleisen, he had mercy. Eleisen, aorist once again. Augments in there. There's your sigma. Eleisen garhemas, he had mercy on us. Ke splanknestis esosen. And splanknestis, being full of compassion. Esosen, once again, another aorist. Augment sigma, first aorist. Okay? For he had mercy on us. Ke splanknestis esosen. They asamenas, once again, talking about God, talking about Christ. The asamenas, the atmai, aorist, this time, but not indicative. This is switching back to a participle. The asamenas, seeing in us, palen planen, ke apolion. Palen planen, much deception and destruction. Ke ekontas. At this point, right? At this point, not talking about Jesus. Now it's talking about us. Ekontas, having made the mian elpida. No hope. Made a mian elpida, no hope. And then soterias, no hope of salvation. I me ten par aftu. Except ten par aftu. Now what is this ten doing? You might be wondering that. This is something that actually happens a lot in Greek. This ten, what's doing it? There's no noun for it to go with. If we look at this ten par aftu, well, clearly the ten can't go with aftu, and we have a period there. So what is going on with that? Well, one thing you can do, there's really two things going on here. First of all, you can turn a prepositional phrase essentially into a noun in Greek just by giving it an article. In this case, that's sort of what's going on here. Except ten par of two, except the something from him. All right. Now it's specifically feminine because it's pointing back to soteria. Me de mian elpida ekontes soterias ime ten par of two. No hope of salvation except the salvation from him. That's what's going on. This ten here, this ten is working with this part of two to say this is the thing from him, the salvation from him. Verse 8. Ekalisen garhemas uk antes ke etelisen ek me antes ine hemas. Ekalisen, once again, aorist indicative. Gar ekalisen gar, for he called us. Uk antes ke etelisen ek me antas ine hemas. This uk antes here and this me antes is a way of talking about existence. So something that ukantas doesn't have an existence. So he called us ukantas, who were not. Ke ethelisen, another aorist verb, and he wished, all right, us to be. He wished us to be ek me antas. Right? He wished us to be from nothing. When I read this, I think of it's kind of like an extension of the idea of creation. There was not, and then later there was. In this case, it's not quite, I don't think, talking about creation, but talking about like new creation. For he called us ukantas, called us who were not, and ethelisen ek me antas ine hemas. And he desired from not being for us to be. He desired us to come out of not being. So I think it's playing on that basic idea, going all the way back to Genesis, but also bringing in ideas of new creation. All right, so that's the first chapter of 2 Clement. I hope you found this useful. If so, please leave me some comments. Shoot me any notes on Twitter. You can get me there at Malioc. You can also shoot me emails at eric.sowell@gmail.com or visit my site, ericsowell.com. Anyway, let me know. I'd love to hear if you found this useful. I'll be making another video soon, and we're putting that up. So thanks for hanging in all this time.